What to do? What to do? You already know we gotta start off with something honest. Let's check it out. Let's see if y'all know what this is all about. And I'm gonna guess you guys know what I'm talking about.
For generations, families have delighted in my whitewashed fables, revisionist history, and all manner of cultural appropriation. Hi, I'm Roger, founder of the Rog Horton Company. Your parents adored my romantic tales of orphans being forcibly kissed by royalty. You were raised on my queer-coded villains and needlessly racist animals. And your kids can't get enough of my CGI Mary Sues with Mondo Donkers. I keep them all here, in my manufactured scarcity vault. When you were a kid, I'd threaten to imprison your favorite princess in my vault for your entire childhood, unless your parents coughed up 20 bucks. Now, thanks to the streaming wars, I'm able to lock all my princesses behind one big paywall. With Horton Plus, if you want to watch any of my properties, you have to pay for all of them, every month, forever.
Golly gee, Mr. Horton, what are you doing in the vault?
Steam Engine Stewie, my old friend.
Do you need me to make war propaganda for the United States government again?
No. My superheroes handle all of my war propaganda now. A lot has changed since you and I stuck it to the Krauts. I've brought the Rog Horton Company to new heights, thanks to the 3 pillars of my business model. First, steal from the public domain and hold on for dear life. In fact, Stewie, I rescued you from that filthy public toilet and polished you into the multi-billion-dollar shiny turd you are today.
Golly gee!
Next, if you can't beat 'em, buy 'em. With the money I made off of you and your animal cruelty shenanigans, I've been able to buy up the most popular media on the planet, from space operas to musty puppets. I own 1/3 of the entire entertainment industry.
Gosh, Mr. Horton, it must be hard to get grown adults who are on either side of the political aisle to make your brand their entire personality.
It's easy if you try.
Oh,
I learned that I can dog whistle about family values to the right while dangling some inane woke bait for the left. I'll announce some background character is the world's first non-binary waterfall and sell 1 million mouse ears.
and use that money to pay the animators and writers who brought your visions to life.
Whoa, not so fast there, Stewie. You're forgetting the 3rd pillar of our business model. If you're paying money, you're not making money. These days, a guy can't testify in Congress against his own union employees and get them blacklisted as commies.
Darn this woke mind virus!
But I still have a few clever tricks to make sure my content creators never get paid a living wage. By simply renaming my most popular franchises every few installments, everyone's contracts reset, forcing cast and crew alike to remain at minimum wage forever.
Even the kids?
Oh, especially the kids. My underpaid child laborers have gone on to become some of the most beloved performers on the planet. They all got their start as foot soldiers in my child army of adorable preteens, the Hortsketeers.
And fans are just, okay with this?
Who cares? At the end of the day, my fairy tales are the only things that'll keep their kids from screaming for 17 consecutive minutes. They don't have time to worry about all the other sketchy stuff hidden in the corners of my vault. My cheerful reimagining of slavery, the anti-tampon propaganda I produced and distributed to high schools around the country for a quick buck. That documentary where I had a whole colony of lemmings executed on camera. My fans don't care if the guy behind their favorite anthropomorphic cars and trees is a greedy, amoral shapeshifter.
Yeah! I mean, would a sexist marry one of his female employees? Would a racist make sure white actors do all the ethnic voices? Would an anti-Semite apologize for hosting a Nazi right after Kristallnacht?
My reputation may be a little worse for wear, but that'll happen when you sue daycares and grieving parents for using your IP without ponying up, or try to copyright indigenous ceremonies for profit. But here's the trick. I've laundered my own problematic legacy with the wholesome reputations I've purchased or dredged up out of the public domain.
Like me!
Actually, Stewie, we should talk. I'm afraid I can't keep you here any longer.
But Mr. Horton, we've been together for 95 years.
That's exactly it. My copyright has run out. You belong to the public now.
You don't want me anymore?
Oh, of course I do. I've spent untold millions of dollars lobbying to extend your copyright. I've single-handedly nuked US copyright law, causing countless works of art, culture, and scientific research to languish in copyright purgatory, all to buy a few more decades with you, my old friend. But now our time together has come to an end. Stewie, you're free.
Free? Free!
Anyway, I have to go ask an AI to write a 5-season rom-com about how the Death Star is gay now.
Okay.
Remember, if you can dream it, you can monetize it. I've been Roger.
Yo. Yo, hey, the ending low key was kind of nuts. What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Volta Crypto here. And man, monetization by manipulating the masses is what's going on. If you ain't noticed, this has been happening for a long time. We're gonna talk about it. You know, I'm not afraid to just go ahead and just get right to it. We're talking about Disney here. We're talking about a lot of these large corporations that are trying to monetize off of you and your children, not just for a little bit, but for their whole life, right? So we got to understand this whole thing is about moolah. If you haven't realized it, that's what it's all about. There is no thing out there that's just for you. Like it's very rare that you see anybody do anything for other people only and not for a little bit for themselves. Most people and most corporations do things primarily for them, but say, hey, we're really helping you. Like it's like when they say, hey, I'm with the government and I'm here to help you. They're not here to help us. The biggest thing and why I love crypto so much because it's teaching people how to worry about themselves, take care of themselves, and carry their own value. Solo sport. Now, the better that you are at the sport, you might be able to add another net zero to your net worth this cycle. That's what we're going to talk about today. But the biggest thing is to understand, well, what are you against? That's why I always show these videos. It's because you got to understand we're in a system that has large players that know how to play the game. It's up to you to know how to play this game. This game of finance is not for those that don't know anything. It's not for those that are just easily able to just give up. It's not for those that are not trying. Today we try all the time to, like, at least I'm trying every single time I get in the stream to like shake people and wake somebody up and say, hey, like it's time for you to go. It's time for you to make changes in your life. It's time for you to find the fastest horses that are going to set you on the path that you're going to benefit from, you and your family alone. And the game of finance is really a solo sport. So with that being said, we have a lot to talk about today. And I've had this conversation with plenty of people here on YouTube, but in person as well, is what is this all about? Why do we even invest? What's the whole point? And I want to confirm that the whole reason of why we invest is to basically have future consumption that we don't have to just work for with our hands and our feet. Basically, you can carry forward these dollars or this value for your future consumption later when you're like, hey, I don't want to be working all day every day. That's all we're doing. And so it's nothing more than that. It's really to promote a lifestyle that you want in the future. And I would venture to say most people want a lifestyle to where they just don't have to work 8 to 12 hours, 5 to 6 days a week. Some people even work 7 days a week until they're like 80 years old. It's becoming unpalatable for most people to even, be doing that in their 60s and 70s. And so, I'm really pounding the table on, hey, if you don't understand that you're in a system, if you don't understand that this whole thing is for you to figure this out, worry about how you're going to get yourself and your family to the level to where you don't have to adhere to every aspect of the system. That is what true freedom looks like. No such thing as the American dream of a picket fence and a house and all this kind of like you don't understand that mortgages. If you don't understand this, mortgages weren't built for us. For it, like it doesn't matter what country you're in. The loan product was not built for you. It's built to keep capital controlled in certain institutions and for you to work to just pay off interest majority of the time. Look at any amortization on a mortgage. You pay probably more interest than you do in actual cost for that building, whatever you're mortgaging, most times. So with that being said, just understand that nobody's ever here to like just give you something and be like, oh, here you go. Welcome. Like, this is all for you. 9 times out of 10, they're looking after themselves. So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you look after yourself? You got to add another zero to your net worth. You got to, and crypto gives you the opportunity to do that truthfully, realistically, because I'm not here talking about, all right, jump in this meme coin and become a millionaire tomorrow. I actually want to talk about how professional investors, the top 1% of the 1%, how they view asset growth, wealth growth. And like I said, we want to pick the fastest horse. We know that's crypto. So these cycles are typically 4 years. And I have a little announcement to make, and I'll make that towards the end of the video. I'm going to be hopping on a dear friend of mine's channel. You guys probably know him. And so we'll talk about that at the end. But on Friday, we'll be streaming together. But one of the topics that we were actually like talking about earlier today about what we're going to continue this conversation on is what's the process of real growth? If you are in this thing for not just a year, but if you do one cycle, then a second cycle, then a third cycle, what does that evolution look like for you from a standpoint of what are you doing with your net worth? And what I first thought about was like, oh yeah, everybody should have the goal to basically add a zero to their net worth every single cycle. So every 4 years. So for example, if you're somebody that's like, all right, cool, I'm starting out in my crypto journey. I've got $10,000. Your goal this cycle, depending on how late you start, because if you're starting at the tip top of the market, results may vary. But if you're anywhere near the halving, you have a good chance to say, okay, cool, let me go ahead and take this 10,000, turn it to 100 or 150 or whatever the case is, maybe even 2, give or take. This is like an estimate. This is an example for the picture I'm trying to paint here. But then again, now that next cycle, let's say, okay, you captured those gains, pay a little bit of tax. So, you pay your 20% tax, whatever the case may be, because you're a long-term holder. You hold for more than a year. And that's another topic. But let's say now you're like, all right, cool. I have 100K that I deploy throughout the accumulation range in the bear market. We've been here talking about that. I mean, this channel has been through the whole bear market saying, hey, this is what accumulation range looks like. Hope y'all are taking action. If you're just now tuning in, don't worry, I got your back, because we're going to facilitate on how to make sure we get this right, not just this cycle, but cycles in the future. But, let's say you accumulated that $100,000 that you made, for example, this cycle. Then the next goal would to be, okay, now let's cross over to that M. But understand, that's not going to take just a year. That's going to be you going through a whole nother 3 to 4 year cycle. Hopefully you might extract $1 or maybe $2, $3 million. Who knows? It could go really well for you. I'm not saying that it's only limited to just, okay, a 10x. As we know, crypto can be very expansive on an overall portfolio. I mean, I've seen gains of way more than 10x in many coins, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just talking about the base case. All right, so follow me. So now you take that M. Now you have to think a little bit differently. You have to now start to think about, okay, asset allocation, wealth preservation is a thing, because you think differently when you have 7 figures versus 6, and you definitely think differently when you're encroaching on trying to get to 8 figures versus when you got $10,000. 2 totally different mindsets. So depending on where you're at in this journey, this should be the topic of conversation in your head every single month, every single year, every single cycle that you go through. Truthfully, it is my opinion. I'm actually starting off with not just data and the charts and all this. Sometimes we just got to talk shop, talk game. And this is a process. We're talking about actually going through 3 cycles. And with crypto, y'all can do it. Like if you're like, man, I'm trying, let's say you're somebody that's 30 years old or even, young as 21. Is it fair to say, okay, by the time I'm like 42 or by the time I'm like mid 30s, I'm trying to get to the point to where I don't have to fit in any system. I can kind of just, do the beat to my own drum. That's a fair amount of time. And typically they say every 7 years might be able to double your wealth in the stock market. So we're literally talking about 12 years, like 100xing your net worth. That's reasonable in my opinion. So we're going from, so crypto gives y'all that chance. So that's very moderate allocation. Like this is not just going to the craziest low market cap coins. You can have a very mixed portfolio, but if you ride a whole cycle out, extract a 10x. That is like base case. You can have layer ones, you can have some, whatever. So a couple meme coins if you want. You can have a good amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now that's going to slowly change as the cycles go through. Layer ones will start to maybe take some of that allocation of saying, hey, like you can lock in a solid 10x. But Ethereum is still on the table for 10x, y'all. Real talk. Because the opportunity was this. You can buy Ethereum at $1,100, $900. With the opportunity to say, all right, cool. We have a good chance of getting to that 9K, that 10K. We're essentially a third of the way there. So with that being said, this is the process. But talking about it is easy. How is the hard part that people don't understand, they don't get? I want to talk about the how today. But before that, let's check the chat. What we got in the chat. In the meantime, let's see if we could look up some things on CoinGecko. Let's see what the market is looking like today. It's a little bit stagnant, not too much going on. We have a little bit of a rebound, but let's check some things out. Let's go ahead and get that up. In the meantime, how are y'all feeling? That's the real question. Because this cycle is one cycle to remember. I will say that, especially over the past like 3 months or so. All right. So let's check it out. We have a nice market cap. So let me see if I can get this in frame for us. All right, cool. All right. So we have a nice market cap here of just about $2.5 trillion. That's pretty good. As far as 24-hour trading volume, we got a lot of money moving around, y'all. We got about 105 billion. But let's go through and just check the volatility for today. As we can kind of see, we have over the past week a little bit of a down draw, a little bit of a pullback. But that's, like I said in the last stream, this is very minute. This is very small in regards to typically what we do have in a bull run. But as you can see, there's some things that are still up on the monthly. Solana still holding pretty strong. I've said this for probably about 5 or 6 months now. Solana is going to make it to number 3. See how it's number 5? In due time, it'll be number 3. It's literally, it's not too far off from getting to that number 3 level. It's just simply, what are we talking? Not much. 20 billion to catch up to Tether. In a bull market, that can happen pretty easily. But things are not looking half bad for this little. I would call this more of a consolidation more than a capitulation or even a pullback, to be honest. What else we got? So in the chat, yes, add more zeros to the account as well as compound the knowledge. So that's the thing. If you're talking about the how, the truth is you need to know what to do. So this ain't gonna magically happen. You're going to need to have some savviness. You're going to need to jump in the vaults of crypto, truthfully, to get the knowledge and have the community that's going to make sure you see this through, first of all. There's power in numbers. And so the community within the vaults of crypto, we got the game on lock. But besides that, the biggest thing is you got to be able to visualize the steps that you need to take and then and act on them. You can't be afraid to take the risks that you need to take. And so let's go. Do you think BTC will end the week under 68.5? The week being the fact that we are halfway through, I think, to be honest, it really just depends on the flow. What I'm seeing is, and we'll check this here in a second, the ETF volume just on the sell side and the buy side is actually slowing down a little bit. Does it mean that it's non-existent? Of course not. But it's slowing down. So I'm starting to see potentially a little less volatility to the upside, unless they just decide to turn it back on. Nobody knows what tomorrow will look like. But as of this week thus far, it looks like we're going to be a little bit more choppy. So if I were to take a college guess right now, financial advice, I'd say we may just kind of trickle around this range, around 68, 66, 64, somewhere within this range. I don't think we would make it quite back up to 70s unless they just decide to turn the faucet back on, which they may. But thus far, the first few days, they haven't been doing that. What else we got? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You need more. Like, if you don't feel like the pit of your stomach saying, I need more zeros on my net worth, not on my spending money, my net worth, right? Like, start to think about, all right, my net worth, the values. We need to get some definition, first of all. Okay. So, definition. How do you calculate your net worth? If you don't know, this is your assets minus your liabilities. Or let's do it like this. So, your assets minus your liabilities, okay? So, look at all your asset columns. It may be real estate. It may be, and ideally, you want to have rental real estate, not necessarily your personal home, because you got to pay for that. It's coming out of your pocket. Like Robert Kiyosaki says in his book, I read this book when I was in college. I've read it like 4 times. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability that takes money away from your pocket. So personal home, if you got to pay that mortgage, it's taking money away from you because you're paying interest on that most likely. No, not most likely, 100% chance you're paying interest on that mortgage. So, what assets do you have? Is it real estate? Obviously, is there cryptos? Is there stocks? Some fine arts, collectibles, XYZ. Versus your liabilities. My liabilities are your rent that you're paying, your loans, your auto loan, your school loans, all this crap that you're buying every single week and every single month. All that Amazon, all those, luxury goods that you don't even need, but you just got. Like, those are all liabilities because they're not doing nothing for you. They're going down in value as you use them. So that's your net worth, right? So the whole thing is everybody worries about just the things that they need on the daily basis, the monthly basis. All right, as long as I pay my rent, that's all. But you need to focus on adding another zero to your net worth simply because this is what gets you to that freedom that you would like to have, ideally. I mean, most people that I talk to don't, like, they may like their job. Some people love their job. But it's nice to say, all right, cool. You might be able to look at your buddy and be like, you know what? I got this dinner. And it really does not even, like, it's like you just pop it off your collar. Like, I didn't even feel it. It's just like a little dust. Okay, I'll pay for that. It puts a smile on the people around you's face, and that's a good feeling. Like, this is all really, a lot of this stuff, it can be like, all right, my influence to give back. That's like one of the biggest things that I enjoy doing. Like, boom, I had some family in town. All right, don't worry about it. Hey, I got dinner, you guys. Don't worry about it. This is on me. I appreciate you guys for coming. Stuff like that. It's a great feeling. And so it's not only about just your consumption. So many people just want to worry about their own consumption. Add another zero, it gives you more influence for the people that you care and love about. So that's the big thing to think about. But yeah, what else we got? We need to add more zeros. That's all we're thinking about. More zeros, more zeros. Hey, what to do? Give us the sauce. I mean, I'm thinking I've already given some sauce, but we got plenty more to go. Okay. Yes, you have made it. When moon? The moon starts the moment that you keep accumulating knowledge. The more that you accumulate the knowledge, the closer you get to the moon. That's the way I like to say it, Let's see. Another zero. Jeez, my net worth already looks nice. Okay, little stunt. But think about it. Because I got a modest net worth for, if I'm looking at it from where I came from, for sure. But there's more things I want to do, more influence I want to have. So sometimes you just got to go for just one more zero, just one more. And one cycle in crypto can do it for you, right? Okay. Ha. What tax? I lost my crypto in a boating accident. Well, if you lost it, you lost it, Let's see. Okay. From Florida? That's a bet. Out there with the craziness. Florida's wild, y'all. Florida's a little wild. Large and in charge, LFG. Let's go. So let's get back to I mean, we're almost 30 minutes in. Let's get back to the topic of, and let me stretch this screen so we can get the butter from the duck. We got to go big screen. That way we are live. That way we can get all the information. I bet. So let's see what's pumping over the last week, 7 days. A couple things, and the interesting thing is tracking what are new things that are popping in the top 100, and track how they're doing through time. Just right off the bat, I got to give the shout out. I am not necessarily endorsing, but I'm talking. Hey, I gotta talk my bag because I'm feeling good about it. That's what's gonna happen in crypto. Dog with hat. Woof woof, right? Up 17% in the last 7 days, up 115% in the last month. Not half bad. Now, the interesting thing is, as we kind of look at some of these things here in the past week, you got stuff like Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. Like these are like we're talking 2017, 2018 coins that are showing some, I would say, sustainability in terms of just not dumping it to complete zero, but they're trying to continue to be relevant. They're going to get overshadowed by all the better stuff, but they're trying to have a good week. Jupe, a lot of airdrops happening over there. Let's take a look. So we will look at Jupe, $1.50. I really think if you have not gotten into this ecosystem, especially within Solana, this is like a beta play on Solana. A lot of user activity, obviously. And, if you're kind of looking at this, if we want to kind of look at this last month, it's been a nice, consistent growth pattern. It has that pullback. I mean, really, if you're able to snag some of this below $1.50, really even, under like $1.75, you're well within range, because this is something that I think has a capability of getting to like a solid $15-$20, and that's pretty moderate, And so if you're doing that calculation, that's a 15x, and we're talking about the later stages of the bull run. Now, being able to capture that, you got to be on point, because your time period to maybe capture that 15 or 20x might only be a standpoint of a month or two. So, and we'll talk about what does that look like, taking those gains at the due time later on in the cycle. But, this chart is looking pretty constructive over the last month. Over the last 3 months, as you can see, a lot of liquidity really starting to hit it in the month of March. And things are looking pretty good. From the beginning of March, is looking almost to, kind of touch that 3x. Which is nice, and this is the progressive growth of user adoption within certain aspects of crypto. So definitely want to watch this. This is, number 61 out of 100. And as Solana grows, like Solana's number 5, as it makes its way to number 3, you can expect things like Jupiter to, make its way to 40 and potentially 35. That type of market cap is something that can be had for this coin. So things are looking pretty moderate. Let's jump over to the Bitcoin chart. So we have the Hatter, and this is something Vaults of Crypto members, you guys have access to this, and we do have a buy signal. So in a bull market, it's very hard to get a good DCA, truthfully. It really is, because you're like, man, am I chasing price? And we don't have those severe pullbacks. But as you can see, really with this liquidity kind of coming to this market, and let me see if I can get some of this off. That way we can understand what this is saying to us. So, we have the 100-day moving average, the sell side, and you're not really looking so much on the sell side. You're looking at these, diamonds in green, the buys. This yellow line is representing the halving. That is coming up just in about, 2.5 weeks, give or take. So as we're looking at this, we have a buy signal on this 8-hour chart. And typically I am not on any type of 8-hour charts or 12-hour charts. But if you're looking at like just investable DCAs within Bitcoin, we have had that over the last 2 days, y'all. So, hey, I'm letting you know, if y'all are thinking about, what should I do? Is this going to keep dipping? Maybe. But as you can see, what do you see more of in this movement higher? You see more sell side, basically meaning, hey, there's more up than down. And so these pullbacks, you get these little opportunities through time. But as you can see, they are fleeting. Like really since the beginning of the year, like look at this. since the beginning of the year, we're looking at, or really since October, even on an 8-hour chart, we're looking at 4 opportunities to get a relative pullback to where you're not going to experience potentially too much downside once you have that entry point. Now, if you buy on the way up, yeah, if you're buying after you see like a buy signal like here, yeah, you get a lower price in the next buy signal. That's why I've always told people like, hey, don't necessarily just want to wait for a pullback, because this pullback is a higher price than if you would have just bought after this buy signal. But what I'm saying is these are better times to be buying versus when obviously you see a sell signal at a local top. So Bitcoin at about $65,876. One thing that I do want to, so let's pop the header off. Definitely join the Vulture Crypto to get these indicators, because, and this one is super powerful, y'all, especially on this weekly chart. Like, it does a amazing job of letting you know, hey, like, are you undervalued when you're buying something, or are you overvalued? So for example, the bear market lows caught that here. It caught that for COVID, and it caught this all throughout this bear market. And even right before we ripped off in October, it's like, hey, this is like a good generational type buy. There's a good chance, just like how when these buy signals hit, that price never came back down to it. So it's a good chance, hey, if you had the hatter, if you're in the Vulture Crypto, yeah, you, because you most likely, you're an investor in Bitcoin, you're going to have what we call infinity profit, basically meaning your cost basis is so low, price will never retrace back down to that in a bull market. So congrats to the Vulture Crypto members who were using this indicator at that time. Now, with that being said, this does a good job of letting you know when we're getting overheated. So, and this is not telling you, hey, the exact top. It gets pretty dang close. But as you can see, when we have the overheated reading, it's going to give you a couple sell signals like that. Hey, it's getting pretty hot, and then it's yes for sure hot. So definitely use this to your advantage. If you are not sure when to take profits or how to go about that, hey, we got the Hatter invite only script here on Trading You with the Vulture Crypto. But with that being said, I really do want to kind of talk about consolidation ranges, okay? So we can pop the header off for a moment. We can keep that 100-day moving average up. So one thing about this cycle, which you guys will notice, is through time, as we continue to migrate and price up, we have these consolidation ranges, and they seem to be getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So this accumulation range, let's go ahead and type that up. So many times in the bull market, you will have what we call consolidation / accumulation ranges. So accumulation / consolidation. All right. Boom. So we got that. So, and that's kind of depicted by these ranges here within the lines. Now, the interesting thing about this is what I mentioned just now is we notice that they seem to be getting tighter. So tighter as in the height between the lines is not as tight as you can see as time goes on, but they're not as long. So for example, the time periods under which we are finding that breather is shortening and shortening. This is very traditional of a parabolic type move. If you've studied any type of technical analysis, this is nothing new. And if you haven't, now you can kind of learn a little bit of the game. But as you can see, this parabolic trend, let's see if we can just get a general basis of what I'm talking about. The parabolic trend is the aspect of something, making its move through time, right? Now, and I'm not saying it's going to be this direct, but these are things that we see within the crypto market. Why? Because there's data to show. For example, a parabolic trend can be highlighted several times, right? Until the parabola is broken. So a moment here, right? We have a moment now, and this is like textbook, where yes, you do have long-term holders that are selling down the price at certain durations, right? But then the demand still outpaces the sell side. So the parabolic trend until it breaks, right? Until it materially breaks. And this is something that happens over and over. Like, I'm going to go all the way through the chart because this is a lot of history that we're doing here. So we have clear parabolic trends. This is the nature of the movement of this asset. So just like how we're talking, like how, hey, like 10x in your net worth, for example, you didn't even have to get this whole move for Bitcoin. Let's say you even got half of it. But there you go. Like in the midst of it, you didn't even got to get the top. So somebody who said, hey, I'm going to understand this concept of 10xing my net worth. So visualize it, right? Like try to visualize this concept. Your $10,000 turns into 100, right? Boom. Let's say you were scared to get the bear market lows here, but you're like, COVID was your next chance. And so you're like, okay, cool. Well, let me invest in COVID. And you've seen this rebound. You ain't even got to get to the very bottom. But let's say you said, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, maybe you didn't get that 10x. You got that 5x, but at least you took yourself from 10,000 to about that point, 500K. And the time duration, we're talking about April 2017 to January 2021. So that's actually 4 years combining the back half of 2 cycles. Now, why timing for your adding another zero to your net worth is so important of being early on in a cycle is because these numbers are increased, obviously, if you are able to accumulate in any bear market period. So that turns to more like a 14x on average. And this obviously turns into something a lot more substantial, closer to a 50x. So rule number 1. So let's go ahead and create some rules, right? And one thing to remember, that once we break 74K, there's going to be just about $1 billion in shorts that will be liquidated. Most likely will push us up to 75K plus. But rule number 1, to add another zero to your net worth, get in early and get in hard. And what I mean by that is with your dollars, with your fiat currencies, whatever you got. Don't say, let me trickle in. When you see something on 90% discount, literally say, all right, cool, bet. 75% discount. Imagine you're at the store. Imagine you're at your favorite, I don't know. Let's say you're at Nike. And there's these pair of J's or a pair of shoes that, and maybe you don't like shoes, but picture you're a person that likes shoes, for example. These shoes are $300 and you're just like, man, I like them, but they're $300. And you may don't want to spend $300. Imagine if you found those same exact shoes for $50. You'd be like, oh, that's a no-brainer. I've been wanting them forever. Let me just go ahead and grab it. So that's what every bear market presents for us if you know the value that you're looking for. So get in early, right? And then at that point in time, you're like, oh, snap, these are pretty rare. Imagine if they had like 10 of them that you could have bought or 20. You probably said, all right, cool. Let me just stack. They're $50 a piece. Let me just go ahead and stack up on 5 pair, 6 pair. So that's what I mean by getting early, getting hard. So all these assets that you know are going to carry value through time because they have network effects. People are going to use this stuff. People are going to just speculate on it. All of this stuff, if you're an investor, you understand this is how it works. This is part of the game. And so this is what this accumulation range in the bear market looks like, for example. Get in early, get in hard, because the person that took action down here is going to have a significant, I would say, a much better potential for an outcome than the person that's just starting to try to allocate it into Bitcoin, for example, at 65K for the first time. But like I said, first cycle, you're probably just going to be figuring it out. Second cycle is where you're able to pinpoint these moments and kill it. Third cycle is where you just say, all right, boom, let me just go ahead and yeah, I'm really going for that. I'm out of here, like not to the moon, but past that. We're going to Mars and all those other planets, all that stuff. So understand, getting early and getting hard. That's the beginning of how to solidify adding another zero using crypto to your net worth. But back to Bitcoin, if we really look at it with these accumulation ranges, these opportunity zones, the opportunities, they come. And so what does this mean? Is we see that through time, we're starting to come sideways again. And so the range, we have a wick low just right above 60K. So we're talking about 60,000 and some change. And we have a range here going up to about that all-time high, which is right below, what is it, 74,000 bucks. So obviously there's a very low chance that we'd consolidate for this amount of time. Like y'all see how how far I have these lines here. So us consolidating until 2025 is not likely. But us consolidating for a time period that is either equal to this time period or less is pretty probable. So this lets you know potentially how long can we potentially have a nice DCA time window in a bull market, for example. And like I said, we may see some volatility within this range. Now, an investor can say, hey, this is not the only scenario. Yes, there is a scenario where we break this range. Now you have to look at your investment differently. But since we're in this range, we're going to look at this as our what? Our base case. And so if we zoom in a little tighter, so let's zoom in just a little bit tighter, right? The time duration for this from December 2023 till it broke out was just about 65 days, okay? And then so let's look and say, okay, how far are we in that process? So currently we're about 36 days. So it can be anywhere between 65 days or less before the next move, the next bit of volatility, because it's like imagine like something getting squeezed to the top, right? As prices going higher, things are going to get squeezed to the top. The movements are going to be more sharp. They're going to be more frequent. This is what happens in a parabolic trend. And then so anything like we're looking like anything before the beginning of May, we're saying, hey, we may have some slight volatility before the major volatility kicks up. Now, where that volatility is going to lead to, the standpoint of the ETF flows happening, the standpoint of like Mr. 100, this is wallet that's literally just buying 100 Bitcoin, if not more, like every single day. I want to say in the last five days, this wallet bought like 800 some Bitcoin. That's several $100 million of Bitcoin. But just in general, when you have the 100-day moving average moving up, getting in the realized price for the short-term holders and the long-term holders are increasing day by day by day, these are the typical pivot points of saying, hey, you have consolidations near the all-time high, typically before a squeeze up. And that is base case. So that's not saying, hey, we're going to moon tomorrow. The window of time is looking to be maybe another 30 days of a little bit more chop before some type of significant volatility. 30 days or less is kind of what this is telling us from just a basic standpoint. And, we did a lot of TA on this aspect the other day. If you want to look at the MACD, we have a slowdown. So typically when we turn red on that MACD on the daily chart, and this is on the 3-day, right? This is when you're saying, okay, this is a nice window to take some action within Bitcoin, but even your altcoins, before we have that next batch of liquidity that wants to come in and start to add value to these asset classes. So add another zero, understanding overvalued, undervalued. Red is DCA, green is hold tight, we're going up. The MACD is a pretty easy indicator to look at. Let's look at the weekly. On the weekly, right, we have a little bit of a slowdown. So a little bit of a slowdown in a bull run is common. For example, we had the halving here at this yellow vertical line. We had a little bit of a slowdown, but then we had a nice batch of liquidity that came in and followed. So with that being said, the nature of what we're experiencing is we're going more up than down. And this is what you need to do in order to add another zero to your portfolio. You need to have a nice amount of capital that is allocated to this asset class at good valuations before we have the hockey stick moments. And the thing is, Bitcoin is already starting to get that. But fret not, because there's other altcoins that will track in liquidity after Bitcoin really starts to break out past these all-time highs. So, for example, something like Phantom, a little bit of a pullback. But I've been a big proponent of Phantom for quite some time. We talked about Phantom really all of 2023 about being able to accumulate Phantom at 15 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents. And we tapped $1 and some change. We've come back to a nice fair value. And for Phantom, there's a good chance that, as Bitcoin decides what it wants to do, there's a good chance that, we will have some support on Phantom right here with this batch of liquidity. So, for example, all of this DCA and accumulation and redistribution, we have a lot of participants that were active within the chart on Phantom in between 20 and 55 cents. there's a good chance that, as Bitcoin, let's say we do have a material downturn for Bitcoin, you'd see Phantom start to have a little bit more stability, some support at that 55 to the 50 cent range. So we're at 80 cents. So that would be maybe like another 20% downturn. That would be a nice place to continue to accumulate Phantom. Really, honestly, anything below $1 is great accumulation for Phantom. But once again, we're looking at something that, for example, if you knew about Phantom, let's say you had a mixed portfolio of Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe there's some Phantom in there, right? Now you're talking about, okay, how do you expedite, or how do you have a better chance that if you're just now getting into crypto, maybe you didn't catch the bottom of COVID, but you might still have that chance if you're, hey, before this super parabolic moment for Phantom, where you have this first push, but you have a major pullback, but then you have two more pushes after that. Let's say you missed the first one, but you start to see a little pullback like how we're getting now. In something that's in its first cycle, you can still extract. Look at that. That's a 17x without even having the full move, right? This is just off the first initial inertia. But even if you were to able to hold till later stages of 2021, that's a 60x on your capital. So, like I said, you'll be surprised. It may not just be a 10x on your portfolio from a cycle. In crypto, you have the opportunity, if you have a nice, well-rounded portfolio, of receiving. And like I said, this is a time period of from January 2021 to October. You're talking 9 months to be able to extract potentially 15, 20, 25x plus. And we're talking core portfolio type coins. We're not talking about meme coin 1000. We're talking about coins that actually have a chain, layer ones, for example. So now going into a second cycle, is 60x on the table, maybe for the people who bought in the depression. So maybe the people who bought super low, like your boy and people involved in crypto. But 10x, guess what? Like from these bear market lows, we're at 300% now, back to all-time highs. Is we're already at 15x. So, like I said, results vary depending on when you're getting active with your investing. Invest continually in a bear, invest continually in the sideways chop. Take profits when we start to, because I have no problem starting to de-risk myself when this gets back to its all-time high. And the cool part about crypto is to receive a 2x or 3x, that can happen in a month or two. So we're talking about, to get back to all-time high, we're talking about 281%. Y'all know that can happen, as we've seen in the past, that can happen in 3 weeks. That can happen in a month, 2 months. So the odds are on your side to, like I said, I'm trying to help you visualize, all right, this is how you go about adding a zero to your net worth, right? Because this is going to add, 10x, 15x. And beyond, especially if it goes to its next Fibonacci level above its all-time high. Its current all-time high was about just under $4. Phantom is a layer one that literally, if you want to go look at some of these upgrades with Supersonic, this is something that is, like I'm saying, user adoption is key. This box right here is there for a reason, right? We're thinking on the bearish case of $4.50 up to about $10. This is the extraction level somewhere in 2025. And we're making our way. So that's like another example amongst other examples here. We can look at Solana. Solana is something that has gotten majority of, like, a good bit of its parabolic move. Right? It's gotten back up close to its all-time high. So once again, hey, if you're involved in crypto, you would have been buying that $20 Solana, right? That $25 Solana. Let's go. Yeah, that $20 Solana. All of this accumulation range, right? Look at this. Draw those same lines like how we did on Bitcoin. Right in the middle of in the depression, the accumulation range is what? $20. So already, like right in the middle. So already, if you have Solana in your portfolio, you're thinking about, okay, cool. You've already, you pretty much, you have already reached your goal. And the cycle is like a third of the way through. Once again, this is something in the second cycle. So if you think that you can't take your $10,000 and turn it to 100, and then take your 100 and turn it into a million in 2 cycles, then let me make it sense for you. Like, it's plain here. There's 10x's everywhere in crypto, but you got to stick through it. But like I said, what helps you do that is being in for a full cycle. So for example, it takes 2 bear market investments. And like I said, you got to go hard to make this happen, to add 2 zeros to your net worth. Right? That would be nice. I'm going to venture to say, hey, if you're serious enough, if you basically say, throw away all of your liabilities and say, I'm going to go bare bones basic with my life for 999 days. So here's the challenge for you guys. If you're like, man, I don't have $10,000 in the market. Well, do you have a job? Does this job potentially pay you $10,000 within a year? I would say a lot of jobs do. The average American probably makes, gross just about maybe, $30K. Like minimum wage, you can get that at McDonald's, $30K if you're working hard. Doesn't matter your job. It's all about getting money in the market. And so if you say, I'm going to strip myself of all these liabilities, if you got to go live with somebody for one cycle, who the heck cares? Like, I'm to the point to where it's like, you got to want it more than you want to look cool, more than the pride that you have. Like, that's how bad I want y'all to make it. That's how bad I want to make it. I literally can be like, I don't want nothing. I just want to add another zero to my net worth. That's what I want. Nobody can gift me that. I can do it for myself. So this should not just be about, let me just buy that Lambo. You don't want to stop at a Lamborghini. Are you serious? You need to ask yourself, how can I get to the point to where a Lamborghini, if I bought it cash, I'm not gonna bat an eye, because it's doable. You can only do that by adding enough zeros to your net worth. So once again, Solana, major ecosystem coin. Now let's maybe talk. Let's talk about a little bit of game here. What is something that is maybe not pumped so much yet, where there's still 10x's on the table? Now let's talk about the how. Let's go scroll down to something like Illuvium. So Illuvium, epicgames.com, it's out. You guys can go in and play the auto battler. But this is something that the actual game, in terms of, and I'm gonna show y'all a little clip here, in terms of like some more of the ecosystem being available for the mass adoption. It's all about network effect. This is gonna be happening in this quarter. So basically in the next 90 days. Okay. So with that being said, this is something that has a good chance. And I'm never gonna get on here and say, you must do this, or this is for sure going to happen. I'm giving you guys probabilities. User adoption is how things go up. When people are using it, playing it, focusing on it, they're going to test it out with their money. When a lot of people are testing it out on their money, they're going to tell people about it if they've made money. If people have made money, more people are going to flock to it. That's all it takes, y'all. So you're trying to get to something before it basically goes like that, right? So, whoop. So basically, what are we looking at? We are looking at an asset here that has a usable product, has a good team behind it. They know what they're doing. Kieran has done a lot of interviews. I've been in on some interviews with some very, very privileged information. But they're going to be given some revenue distribution that's going to go back to be buying this coin alongside with the speculation. So, for example, like how Solana made it back to its all-time high when the liquidity went that way. Trust me, many different things in this market at some point is going to capture liquidity. For GameFi, it may be Q2 or Q3 of this year. But like I said, it only takes 2-3 months for something to get back to its all-time high. Like, trust me, you guys are going to be surprised. If you haven't experienced that yet, just wait. But for something like this, say, is there still a 10x to get to its all-time high? And the answer is yes. About 1,250% to its all-time high. So that's about 12x. So from today, if you're a person that's like, okay, I don't have much, but I want to add another zero to my net worth. Let's say you have $1,000. Or by the end of this month, you may have $1,000. Would it make sense for you to, let's say you've never bought crypto at all. Would it make sense for you to say, hey, I don't see how I'm going to add another zero to my net worth currently. Like, I'm not an investor. To take, and you ask yourself, $1,000. What salary are you making in that month? Maybe you made $2,000. Okay. You take one risk in your life. Let's say you've never taken any risk investing. You take one risk and you buy $1,000 of Illuvium at $120. And you let this cycle play out. 2025. Maybe at the end of 2024. We'll see. But you start to see this thing get into a price of like, oh snap, this is at $1,000. I bought it at, oh snap, when did I buy it at $120? Oh snap. Your $1,000 now $6,000, $7,000. Right? Now you're gonna want to potentially, all right, let me go find some more money. Nah, like you gotta understand where you're at in the cycle. Let's just mature, right? And then you decide. Maybe you don't get to that full 10,000, but maybe you say, okay, cool. I'm at 8,000, whatever the case is, more than I ever had before. You take that profit. Now you understand what it's like to start to really accumulate some type of net growth, because that's 8 times more than what you currently had. Remember the rule in the stock market: it takes 7 years to just get a double. From one cycle, you just beat that times 8, and that's something moderate from one bet, so to speak, one risk, one investment, whatever the case may be, whatever words you want to use, they're interchangeable. So with that being said, these are ways to add another zero to your net worth. Hint, hint, hint. Illuvium is on the docket to get some gains here. Let's check this out really quickly. I want to look at this clip because this is what's on the way. Check it out. Okay, so I'm not going to play the full clip, but so this is actually Crimson Waste. This is a region in Illuvium. And yeah, man, this stuff is touching AAA. It really is very impressive to see the development through the years, truthfully. So something to keep in mind. Now, what else can we talk about today? Adding another zero to your net worth. Vision is a part of that. You got to see yourself doing it. If you don't believe you can do it, guess what? It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to go here. Let's see. We got some things in the chat. Oh, you already know. We got to put this up. Let's go. Cultivate crypto. 7 years. Damn. Because how good crypto is, best place to put your money to work for sure. This is a true statement. Very true statement. I can attest to this because I was an investor before crypto. So I wasn't native crypto. I did stocks, did rental real estate, collectibles. So, collectible cars, stuff like that. And the thing is this: once you've kind of dipped your toe in other things and spent some time there, you start to realize, okay, like what water is warmer. Like it sucks to get in water that's just like cold. But when the water's warm, you're like, I like this, right? It's a good place to be. You got to understand, most people still have no clue what the heck crypto is. So when you're in an asset class that still doesn't have a lot of eyes on it yet, it's growing. The network adoption is happening. But that means you still have opportunity for a lot of reward here. So 100% true with that statement. Let's see. Who else we got? That's right. I'm hoping I'm getting y'all a little hype today, because you really got to take this stuff serious. I feel like people are just too casual about making their life better. And like I said, I don't think money is the route to happiness. I really don't. But you being able to have a little bit more freedom of time, you being able to have a little bit more freedom of movement, you being able to say, hey, if I don't want to do this job or whatever the case may be today, I want to have a little bit more freedom in that sense, or to be able to give to other people that you care about. These are things that just in human nature that most people want. So the way to get it is you got to learn how to allocate money. There's no way around it. So yes, get hyped. Do what you got to do because the opportunities are here still to this day. Now, adding another zero to your net worth. Now, I kind of want to show you guys a couple things. We'll go to DeFi Llama, and then I have another thing to kind of help us visualize the aspect of what happens if Bitcoin and crypto starts to take market cap to some of these larger asset classes. As I stated on the stream last time, we have rental or just real estate in general, rental and residential across the whole world sitting anywhere in between, the estimate is like 350 trillion to 400 trillion. You have bonds sitting at about like 130 trillion in value, stocks at about 110 trillion dollars, things of that nature. So there's a lot of money out there. Now, crypto, as we can see, it's just we're touching what 2.5. So what happens if we get 1% of bonds, or let's say even say 0.5% of rental real estate? What happens to the market cap of Bitcoin? I have a website. A lot of people don't even know about this. I'm gonna give this to y'all for free here on the channel, and we'll go through the simulation, because these are things like, and gold is at what, 11 trillion or 13 trillion, give or take. I think through the years, through this cycle and next, Bitcoin is probably going to eat and this is a fair estimate of just kind of seeing the growth through time. Half of the gold market cap, Bitcoin is going to eat that up. And that's being super conservative over the next 2 cycles. We might eat up half of that, who knows, Bitcoin by itself in this cycle. Things can get crazy, but I'm going to give it 2 cycles for that to happen. So that's like Bitcoin seeing a market cap just by itself now. We're not talking all of crypto, but Bitcoin seeing a market cap of 6 trillion. Do you know what the price will be if that's the case? So, one thing that I like to look at is just DeFi in particular. So DeFi is an aspect of crypto that are not, like most people that are just starting in their first cycle, they maybe are learning a little bit about DeFi. In 2021 is when I predominantly learned about, hey, what is staking? Thanks to, hey, guys like Cultivate Crypto. I mean, these guys are truly pioneers. Guys like Miguel. Hint. Now, I had a phone conversation with him earlier today. We might be doing something here, most likely Friday. So y'all stay tuned for that. But when you look at DeFi, you're starting to see, okay, what is the underpinning of the actual technology that is behind some of this stuff? And so when you see people actually using the swaps, the DEXs, the ways to get liquid staking, like all this kind of stuff, then you start to say, okay, people are getting a little bit deeper into this stuff, these ecosystems, okay? And so the biggest thing is I'm really seeing that we are in the aspect of seeing $95 billion locked up into DeFi currently. Last cycle, we touched an area of about 180 billion. So we're currently at half the amounts locked up into DeFi, but Bitcoin is at the same price, give or take. So obviously Bitcoin doesn't have a big DeFi ecosystem. So how to add another zero to your net worth? As you see something like this double, right? So total value locked go from 95 to, let's say, $180 billion. This is something that is on the way. You got to understand, this is another way of looking at, okay, the amount of users. So if this doubles in total value locked, not necessarily market cap, this is a different measurement. This is basically kind of saying, okay, well, the users are going to double. So think about Metcalfe's law in this sense. If you square that, now you're starting to think in exponential terms. And so let's venture to say, if this even breaks that, let's say it doesn't stop at 180 billion. Let's say this is going for maybe 300 billion. These are things that are reasonable once Ethereum breaks its all-time high, because a lot of this is going to be pent up on how does Ethereum move. As you can see, a lot of this stuff is based upon the value locked in Ethereum. Like these protocols, mainly, we're talking like a lot of this is just in Lido, right? A third of this money that's locked up in all of DeFi is liquid staking for Ethereum. We have things like Aave. Now, Aave is on many different chains, but this is the beautiful part about technology that is getting better. There's different versions of the same technology, is it can expand. Okay. And so what we're seeing is an expansion of things like Arbitrum, Polygon. These are layer 2s. But then things like Base. I've been pounding the table on Metis. Metis is a layer 2 for Ethereum. But Phantom is on this list. The thing is, when people are looking for new places to put this money that they're realizing day by day that is losing value, since COVID, 25% of the dollar's purchasing power is vanished. That's real. Like, people are feeling that. As people are saying, hey, I really just don't see too many other options. Like I said, they're going to get a little bit of taste of Bitcoin. Then they're going to maybe venture into Ethereum. And then after that, the natural maturation in learning or investing within crypto is going to be touching this DeFi. This is when the capital rotation, I mean, we see it in the on-chain data. I've been showing this stuff for several months now. So with that being said, this eclipsing 180 billion, this eclipsing 200 and looking to make its way to even 300 billion, use Metcalfe's law with even this standpoint. So taking yourself from, let's say, boom, 100 billion to, let's say, 300 billion. So that's 3 times the users. So square that. That's 9x. So overall, and like I said, individual projects can see much higher returns than that. But if you're talking about from the standpoint of where we are now, there's still an opportunity. And this is, I'm talking about as of today. These are very moderate estimates. And I'm doing a little moon math here. I normally don't do too much projecting or anything like that. But this, because think about it, in 2020, this is worth we're talking like 1 billion in June of 2020. Y'all see that? Here, let me make sure y'all can see that. All right. So, and we're literally talking about this thing legitimately went from 1 billion to 180. So that's 180 times the valuation in the standpoint of a year and some change. I mean, to be honest, that's a little far-fetched for this cycle. But us being, let's say, coming from, we're talking 40 billion. Can we just 10x that? We did 180, but can we just 10x it from the lows? I think so. So 40 billion to go to 400 billion. Things going into their second cycle. Ethereum. We looked at Solana. We looked at things that did well and are doing well in their second cycle. So with that being said, $300 billion is kind of lame. So like I said, Metcalfe's law, there's room for the base case, even coins that utilize just primarily DeFi. So your layer 1s is a lot of what we're talking about here. But other things. So I mean, even if you want to dive a little bit more deep, if you want to look at chains in particular, and let's see. All right, let's do it. So a lot of people have been talking about Base. So in the Vulture Crypto, here's what we've been on. We've been on Base. And with that being said, kind of diving a little bit into the memes, but you got to look at, okay, hey, where do you even get these memes? So there's dexes that you're going to need to go to get that meme coin. And what is number 1? Let's click on Aerodrome. So Aerodrome is something that you may want to take a look at. So a lot of network activity has been funneling over from Solana, coming over to, guess what? Base. Now, here, let me move myself out the way so we can see this. So March has been an incredible month for network growth for this DEX use case, right? Guess what? You can actually buy this token, Arrow. So these are things to look at, as this is just beginning the network adoption. And we're talking about in this first month. And you got to look at longevity. How long do you think a DEX, which code seems to be working, right? And, through time, we want to verify that. The bigger the risk, the earlier that you get into something, obviously. But you have to ask yourself this question. Coinbase is the number 1 crypto company that can be traded on a stock exchange. Number one, this chain is tightly correlated to Coinbase, hence the chain name Base. So I'm making it plain. This is the number one DEX on the chain. How do we know? It has the most value locked, biggest market cap, even more than Uniswap. What is the chance that this is going to be here for 2 cycles? I'm giving this a pretty good probability, y'all. Pretty good. So for something that is all of $1 and some change, like it's what, like currently, like price $1.42. This is something that if you're saying, hey, how do I add another zero to my net worth? This has, and we can maybe look at the chart in another stream, but this has a good chance to say, hey, once we have another lunge up, we're not coming back to below $1. And so, like I said, for a person that has $1,000, how do you get to 10? And then maybe next cycle, take that 10 to $100,000. It's about being able to do some of this research that we're doing today, but understanding how just literally having the vision of saying, okay, what does it even take? How long do I need to be invested? What are some reasonable goals? That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to frame this up, and I'm giving you examples of how this is going to happen for people that are paying attention, watching streams, watching several channels, even watching this channel. But there's plenty of examples of how this, because I'm not going to predict, but I'm saying this from the parameters of what we're looking at, this has a good chance of doing what I'm talking about. And this is going to be in its first cycle. So we looked at coins and what they do in their first cycle. This is going to have a chance to add another zero to your net worth if this is in your portfolio. Now, the weighting on this may be 2% and maybe 5%, but this is something that you should maybe think about. All right, let's see. Let's continue on. Let's see. Yes, sir. Of course, I love the convo. The plan has to be, you got to add another zero. Like this is what the goal is. Forget just trying to have a Lamborghini. Forget just trying to have this mansion. Once you guys get to the standpoint of realizing, like, stuff is just stuff, you start to realize, you know what, sometimes I just want to be able to say, I don't want to have to stress about nothing. That's like the best, like the piece of not having to worry about how things are paid for. To be honest, that feels better than stuff through time. Like as we get older, like stuff is going to come, stuff is going to go. But with that being said, I'm going to hit y'all with some alpha here. We're going to go to this site here. So I'll put this in the chat. This is a website called Nakamoto Portfolio. And I love this because what does it do? It helps us aggregate a lot of the information about different asset classes and what is the scenario if Bitcoin takes some of the market capitalization from some of these other asset classes. So like we talked about, we have stocks, bonds, gold, silver, real estate, obviously, cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin, fine arts, things of the like. Now, let's talk about this. When we kind of pull this down, you're going to see this term called monetary premium. So let me explain what this is. Monetary premium, everything has a monetary premium. In essence, how accessible is it? How scarce is it? Essentially, the more scarce it is, it's going to carry a higher monetary premium. Like the premium for it is going to be pretty high. Now, in terms of the accessibility of it, is going to give it a higher monetary premium as well. And so these are things that we want to know. Gold is going to have a high monetary premium simply because compared to the dollar, it's definitely more scarce. Bitcoin is similar to gold. There's a finite supply, so it's going to carry a significant or higher monetary premium. And as we go through these different categories, we're going to see gold, 70% monetary premium, right? All these different things. Silver, bonds. Silver is going to have a lower monetary premium because it's just used a lot in a lot of different things. It's not as scarce. Real estate, it's going to be at 40. It's going to have a decent monetary premium. Like there's a use case for it and there's people in the market for it as well. But you can just keep making more houses. So the monetary premium is going to be a little bit lower. Cryptocurrency, monetary premium, 100%. Why? Because many cryptocurrencies at the end of their emissions schedule they're going to have a fixed supply. A lot of that supply is probably going to come out in the first 2 cycles, Fine art, monetary premium. So as we kind of look at this, what we need to do is say, okay, once again, let's go through these market values. So right about, give or take $100 trillion in, we're talking, let's say, like we're talking global stocks, not just US stocks. But let's just say we want to just capture a portion. Like, let's just say we capture, and we're going to give ourselves a timeline. So we're talking the time to capture this is 30 years, but let's just say we're going to give ourselves till 2030. So we're talking 6 years. So let's go ahead and take this down to 6. So 6 years to get this done. What happens through these next 2 cycles if we are able to capture, let's just say, 3% of the total value of stocks? I think that's something that's reasonable, okay? Bonds. Now, bonds, people have been getting wrecked on bonds. Like the 60-40 bond portfolio traditionally over even like the last 5 years have sucked. People got killed the last 2 years in bonds. But over the last decade, it's been very marginal. So bonds are slowly becoming things that are becoming less of a monetary premium. Bitcoin is slowly starting to take the place of that. And, and there's videos of people even selling rental properties just to say, hey, okay, I'm ready to go all in on Bitcoin. Like, you can see it on Reddit. You can see videos on Twitter. So let's say we don't even need to capture 10% of bonds. Let's just say moderately 5%. Okay. Gold, like we mentioned, I think gold, there's a good chance that we can capture 50% of gold in the next 2 cycles. So 50%. Silver, silver is, we're eating up silver. We're going to take all of silver. So 100%. Because Bitcoin is basically already there. Okay. Real estate. Let's just say pretty moderately 5%. Let's say we don't even do that. 5%, let's just say more like 3%. Okay. Fine art, and I think this estimation is a little high for 700 billion. A lot of this stuff for fine art is used to like evade taxes and money laundering, stuff like that. But, let's just call it something more along the range of like, or isn't it going to let me do it? Let's see if we can do it. 0.5. Yeah, there we go. And so let's double check. Let's make sure this runway is 6 years. So 6 years. But even if you say, okay, so let's just say we give ourselves a full working life. Let's just say 30 years. We can go back to 30 years. That's even going to give us less bullish numbers, right? Because I want to be conservative. 30 years to get this done. Okay. So with these small, and this is like the bearish case, with these small hypothetical scenarios, what can we do? That's still a 3x from today's current price. But the model is saying the fair value, if we do this during the duration through the years, the fair value of what it should be is $176,000. I think at the end of this cycle, there's a good base case in between. We're talking about that 120 to 200K. That's where I'm at. That's putting Bitcoin market cap just alone, just what, about like 3 billion to maybe 4, somewhere in there. So that's still extremely small within a time span of, let's say, over the next month or a year and a half to really try to round this cycle out. But okay, let's talk about the next cycle. So now we bring ourselves to 2030. So in that 6 years, if we want to follow that, we're talking about, Bitcoin extracting a lot of market cap from these other aspects. And we're talking final monetization value 30 years from now. Now, $642,000 30 years from now, I think is pretty bearish. Right? If you want to put this on the base case, I think this is something a little bit more congruent. 20 years, because a lot of people are like, all right, we're going to get to 1 million by 2030. That's 6 years. You know, I think that could happen in 3 cycles, 4 cycles. But you got to envision yourself, hey, if I stick with something for the long term, 20 years, believe it or not, can go by like that. But the whole point about after, like, and like I was saying, a lot of people talk about, okay, first cycle, hey, I just want to make something happen. Second cycle, okay, I think I'm trying to get rich. Third cycle, I'm trying to get wealthy. When you're wealthy, people that are wealthy, they think about capital preservation. And the thing is, typically people only get wealthy through time. This is even in crypto. I mean, it may take 2 or 3 cycles, depending on what you're starting with. So we're talking 12 years, 15 years. So imagine yourself in 20 years, you're going to be thinking about capital preservation. And so, imagine you had the opportunity to buy this Ethereum at, $3,000, $3,500, this Solana at $200, and 15 years from now. Because understand, if Bitcoin is going to be here, there's a good chance that things that have network adoption, that have a little bit more usability per se, because Bitcoin, yes, you can hold on to it, store value, of course. But being able to have a DEX and say, hey, I just actually want to trade this value for that value. Solana has a lot of that. Ethereum has a lot of that. These supercomputer networks essentially have a lot of viability, is what I'm saying here. So how I'm saying visualizing and sometimes using models to do it can help you understand that over a span of 12 years, 15 years, you'll be surprised. If you're somebody that's 20, like I said in the beginning of the stream, if you're somebody that's like 21, by the time you're 35, you can get to that point where you're saying, okay, I added another 0 to my net worth every single cycle. 3, 4 cycles in, man, I'm feeling great. And you still got half your life to live at 35. Like the average person nowadays is making it to 75, 80 years old. It's probably going to increase as medicine gets better. And then so, man, we have opportunity here. It's a beautiful thing. I'm super excited. I'm staying juiced because I just know, hey, I've already experienced some really nice gains through what we've had this third of this bull market with 2/3 left to go. But the real doublings and triplings and quadruplings of your net worth that comes, but you gotta stay diligent, you gotta stay in the game. So with that being said, a lot of info, some things that y'all can come and play around with. Definitely check this website out. And I think I left it in the chat. But once again, remember, if you're not doing something, if you're not giving effort, if you're just like, hey, I'm hoping it's going to work out, if you don't have a plan, most likely things are going to be okay for you. But there's probably more butter for the duck, essentially. So, yeah, we're an hour 23 in. I am going to check the chat. Do we have anything? Let's see here. Any questions before we end this stream? As I mentioned before, you guys, Friday, jump on Dollar Cost Crypto's channel. We'll be collaborating, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, man. We have a lot of different opinions, but also just a lot of good value to kind of enhance y'all's knowledge in terms of looking at not only this cycle, but what it looks like to really be a true investor, not somebody that's just trying to buy stuff and hope for the best. So, it's been a lot of good knowledge that through the years you'll start to learn as an investor. And we're going to share a lot of that knowledge. Some things that I haven't even shared on stream, I really only share in the Vaults of Crypto. But yeah, y'all definitely looking to collab with my boy here pretty soon. Hopefully we get a chance to Charlie. Hopefully we get a chance to do another moon game here pretty soon. So let's see. Yes, sir. Definitely. Let's see what else we got. Cool. So yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. We're about an hour 30 in. As y'all can see, the passion is dripping from my veins today. Today is a day, just to remind you, is in life you can create goals. I like being pretty specific. I like having a plan. I know you probably like that too if you're looking at crypto. maybe you don't, but like your plan was to make money, but let's go ahead and refine that. How do we manage that? How do we assess risk? How do we look at the market from many different standpoints? How do we just get data and not so much opinion? I gave a little bit more opinion in this stream, but with that being said, I like having these streams because sometimes you got to visualize. Sometimes you got to remember what you're doing this for, and how to attain a lot of the smaller goals that you have by always remembering your big goal. Adding another zero to your net worth, if it isn't a goal, maybe it should be. One last little thing. I will say this. Pull out this chart and learn to start looking at big numbers. Get your eyes used to it, right? This is something that I can thoroughly say has helped me as an investor, getting used to seeing big numbers before they're even in my possession, right? In unrealized gains, but definitely in realized gains. And when you get used to looking at big numbers, when you finally see them, just be like, you know what? I knew this was going to happen, and I've been ready for it. So definitely come to this site. Check it out. Last little thing, the vaults of crypto. Make the choice. Make the choice. Every single day, every single week, every single month, we're in there just really, really getting a detailed look on how to move. You got to learn how to move out here. And if you're needing some help, if you're needing a little bit of guidance, needing a consultation, hit me up, all that good stuff. But here's a place where you can get a lot of good information. Go to services tab here and jump on in. It's affordable. The knowledge that you get from here will transcend time, and you'll be glad you did it, because you'll be able to look back and be like, dang, I took my $1,000, I took my $10,000, and thanks to Swerve, thanks to the guys and the folks in the Vaults of Crypto, I solidified my knowledge enough to be able to capture another zero to my net worth. So, and the other stuff is going to be on you, right? Being able to handle your expenses, that's going to be on you. We talk about that stuff. We talk about, hey, how to protect your capital, looking at trust, looking at potentially now taking some funds to residential real estate to get different tax benefits. Like, these are things that we talk about quite often. And we have tax people that, we can have access to. I have plenty of advisors that I give the phone numbers to, I give their personal contacts to. You literally can call them. They will answer and talk to you. But you got to be in the vault to get access. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. And once again, don't slack. If you're thinking about crypto for the first time, don't wait. Take action and learn as you take action. And things typically will go okay for you. But don't just watch. Because as you can see, as time goes by, money's getting made. Don't wait. So till next time, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.